Today is April 20th, 1977. This is Mary Nastor interviewing Frank Barba in Aromas, California. This is interview number 1.
He came over. He went to Hawaii first. See, while I was attending school.
You went with her to Hawaii?
No.
She went to Hawaii?
Yeah, her and the husband.
Uh-huh.
So when I graduated in 1924, I tried to get here in the United States or Hawaii, where they were, you know.
Mm-hmm.
And in that time they were taking people to go to work to Hawaii. So I tried to get in there.
Yes.
To free my transportation, you know,
Uh-huh.
but I was not qualified.
Uh-huh.
So in the meantime, I wrote a letter to my aunt here in Hawaii to send me some money for transportation.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, and then for the time being, I was waiting for it. I went to my uncle in where's that now? No, Corregidor. He was stationed down there. He was a soldier, scout, and I stayed down there for about 2-3 weeks until the money came too. Then when I got the money, I left Manila and went to Hawaii.
How old were you at the time?
Let me see now. I am I'm 78 now, Mom. That's 1924. How much is that?
Okay, so, but what year were you born? That's how we can figure it out.
1898.
1898, so
December.
in 1924, you were 26 years old.
Right then.
Okay.
Yeah. So, and during this time, the transportation is very slow. They have this president line, you know, and I took one. It took me about 3 weeks to get to Honolulu. So, yeah, it was 3 weeks. It was pretty slow. Well, we stopped on a couple in Hawaii, no, in China and Japan for a little bit, you know. Then when I reached Honolulu, my aunt met me down there. He took me down to the plantation where they were working down at
Was it pineapple or sugar?
sugar cane.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This place they call it, what is that now? Plantation is there. And I stayed down there for about 3 months with them.
Were you working on the plantation?
Not yet. I tried to get work, but so I got a job as a night scaleman.
Mm-hmm.
I scale the sugar cane that comes in. So for about a month, just getting about $1 a night.
$1 a night?
Yes, $30 a month. It was too cheap then.
For how many hours did you work?
Well, from 6 to 6.
Mm-hmm.
It's about 12 hours, but the load doesn't come in too soon, too quick, you know. So I had plenty of time to
Rest?
to rest and maybe snore a little bit.
Yeah.
So I worked down there for about a little bit over a month, and then I came to the United States. That's about the end of 24. Maybe it was April or May, I think.
Did your aunt stay in Hawaii?
Yeah, they stayed down there yet because they wanted me to come down and see how life here in America. See? So I came over and I stayed with my relatives down in San Francisco for about a little over 6 months because I got a job as a busboy and a waiter. So when I liked the place, I wrote to my aunt in Hawaii. So they came over and joined me in here. And they stayed for a while the...
In San Francisco with you?
Yes. We took an apartment down there. But they didn't work here. They went to Stockton to look for asparagus work.
Asparagus?
Yes. When they got the job down there, they moved down. So I stayed in San Francisco for a while, yeah. And then beckon for I go and visit them once in a while. So
You
one,
mean to Stockton?
yeah, from Frisco to Stockton. Yeah, they were working in that island, one island that in Asparagus. So when one day when I went down to visit them, a town mate of ours, he was insurance agent working in insurance, and he was talking to me while we were together, because he's a good friend. He's a neighbor of mine in the town of San Nicolas where I was born. So he said, "Why don't you come down here and look for a job? There is a landlady looking for a night clerk." So, well, next time I come back in here, we went down to see this landlady. I went down to see and talk to him. Yeah, all right, if you want to come and work as a night clerk, renting rooms. See? So I got the job for almost $60 a month. That was better than
And where was that?
in Stockton.
In Stockton.
Yeah, it's a hotel and renting rooms. So I worked down there for more than a year. And then my aunt and my uncle moved to here in Watsonville.
Do you know why they came to Watsonville?
They figured that there are a lot of work in agriculture, like companies of raising lettuce and whatnot,
And
So
they had experience in that kind of work, and so they looked for it?
no, but they came here. When they came here, they settled down because then they contact one company, I think. So they rented a couple of big houses in town, keeping up boys, because a lot of boys wanted to work.
Filipino boys?
Yes, all Filipinos then. So, well, they had a camp then. They had about 35 boys, sending boys to work for everybody who needs some help. So they get this. There was one big company from Salinas, and he has a camp down here at the foot of the hill, Warner Hill, down here in Watsonville. So they told them to, if they want to move in, then stay in the camp and keep the camp, keep boys and boarding boys. So one day I came down from Stockton to visit them. So they said, "You better come back here and keep this camp," and we moved to another to the camp steady. So I moved to Watsonville. It's 1927 then. So I kept the crew down here in town for several years, and I keep on building up my boys because I have a lot of friends, all Filipinos. Yeah, that's before the war. So all I did is to look around, contact some farmers, private farmers, and big companies, and so every day, every afternoon when after work, we receive calls from companies who need some boys and to bring them to where they are going to work. So we did that all the time. Well, I had a driver. I didn't have to drive the boys. I have a driver to drive them. We have a big truck to hold them. So we worked that way all the time. And then one year, there's one American guy who came down and contacted me to say that, "How do you like to have a license for a contractor when we get an office here in Watsonville?" He said. So, well, and I was thinking, well, let me think it over. I said, so because at that time we don't have to have a contractor license.
It wasn't a law then?
No, it wasn't. I don't think so. See, because they didn't enforce it. So, but the advantage of having a license is that you can move around all over,
All over the
and
state?
then charge boys for transportation and things like that. So, all right, I said, we tried it. We tried for about, not so very long because this partner of mine died.
Your partner?
Yeah, and in this contracting business. So I sold the office, the office that we rented. So I just stayed home and keep up my license, you know. So so if any question about it, well, I have my papers for, to show them that I have a license. So I've been working down there for a long, long time until about this company that owns this property now.
What company is that?
Barba company.
Burbank?
Yeah. I've been FB Burbeck. We used to work for him for now and then, because whenever they need a voice, they contact me. I give them. So I give them voice, and they were satisfied with the work of my voice. So he said, the foreman, the manager of the company, told me that if you want to move to Romas and stay there and keep boys down there and keep the camp, and be all right. And say, well, and that way I don't have to move around too much to look for some work for the boys. So I said, all right. So in 1937, I give up my camp in town and move in here. So, and all my boys that are not renting any place down in town move with me in here, because we have a big house there. How many rooms? About 7? Two-story building, and it can hold 35 boys. So we moved here then, and about not quite 3 years when I gave up my license, because the son of the big boss, the son of this company owner, told me that, why don't you keep away from you? No, why don't you give up your license, because you are not working? We can pay the boys. We can pay the boys in our checks. Yeah, because if you don't have license, you can't write checks to pay the workers. So I said, all right. That give me that. That's what, about $25. Me richer in my pocket then, because I was paying $25 to the license. So then I was keeping boys then, and then the war broke out. So I lost a lot of Filipinos. So there are a lot. Then comes this. Let's see. No, before then, I used to have, because the company uses more boys then. So there are a lot of wetbacks coming from Mexico down here. So we keep them too, because we need some boys. I didn't have enough.
You had Mexicans and Filipinos
together. Yeah. So, but these immigration officers were very hot then. They come and raid the place once in a while. So they keep, every day they get some boys that bring them down across the border, but next day they come over again. It's the same boys. So I keep them until, and then in 1942, I think, they have the United States and Mexico get together and they sign a contract, I think, giving laborers to the United States.
I believe that was the Bracero program.
Yeah, Bracero program then. So my company took some. So, but until that, besides that, once in a while there is some wetbacks coming in.
Even now?
Even now there's some now. Once in a while they keep the immigration officers catches a lot of them sometimes. But I'm not keeping boys now because I'm retired. When my boss died, the son tried to run the place for about 3 years. So, but I think he was not built up for agriculture. I don't think he doesn't like it very much. So he said he give up. So
this is the Burbeck company.
Yeah.
And what were they growing?
Lettuce, sugar beets, beans, and broccoli sometimes. Yeah, everything. He was growers and shippers. He buys and grows some too.
When did the father die?
In 1962. Yeah, 1962. So the son took over for about 3 years. little more than 3 years, and I don't know. I think that easy money, but then I don't know. He's not built up for agriculture, so he can't. And he doesn't have the patience like the father, you know. So he gave up, and so since then I was retired then. So once in a while, well, this West Coast company, the manager before, he's a Filipino who had shared under there. He called me once in a while, you know, when I didn't have work. So I went down to help them once in a while. And then until 1974, they give me a steady job. Every year they call me then. I have to make my report sheet then. But before then, this manager, Filipino manager, has to fix my time, you know, and everything. He didn't bother with it. Just go down there for extra. but then since 1974, they gave me the privilege of keeping my time then for the boys. So I work steady for them. And yeah, for the last 3 years, since 1974 then. So 76, yeah, I worked last year. But I don't know whether they will call me again this year, because they only give me a chance to take care of this school children, high school people or college people who want to work. Yeah, excuse me. Because a lot of those workers in the company have sons and daughters that going to schools and colleges, and they want to work too. So when the school closes, they employ them, and then that's the time when they call me to go and take care of them.
Do you mind if I backtrack a little bit?
Yeah, okay, that's all right.
I'd like to get some background information.
Hmm.
And you said that originally your aunt and her husband had gone to Hawaii. Do you remember when that was? What year they had gone?
Let me see. During my third year, that has been 1923 or 1922 then.
Do you know why they went to Hawaii?
Well, one reason is for us, I don't know, but well, they find out that maybe they can find a better living down there, better chance to make money or what.
What had they been doing in the Philippines?
Oh, nothing very much. My aunt was used to weave silk handkerchiefs. That's her thing, and she peddled them. And that's not.
And her husband, was he a farmer?
No, that's not farmer. I don't know what he was. He lived in a different town in the province and didn't know what is fun. But when they get married, he just work around now and then. Work is not very much done back in our little town, you know.
What town was that?
San Nicolas.
Santa Claus?
San Nicolas, Ilocos Norte.
San Nicolas.
Yeah, Ilocos Norte. That's the northern part of Luzon. So, and I attended school down there until we call it primary and intermediate. Until seventh grade. Then I went to Lawag, that's the capital of the province, where the high school is. We got Filipino teachers and American principal. So I had my high school education down there.
In the capital?
Yeah, Lawag. But one year during my third year, I stopped because I was sick. So we moved to Pangasinan, that's Manao, Pangasinan. And I stayed, I went to Lingayen High School for 1 year for my third year. So I stayed down there for 1 year. And then moved back to my town again, San Nicolas, and went to Lawag High School again to fourth year for my graduation. That's in 1924 then. So I graduated in 1924.
The aunt that you're talking about, is that Mama?
Yeah. So,
Okay.
yeah, she took my grandmother took me when I was a little baby, a little boy.
Mm-hmm.
Then, but when she died. My aunt kept me then, So like, she was like my mother then. So she saw me through high school and bring me here in Hawaii and then here in the United States.
Okay, I just want to repeat again. You were born in December 1898
Right.
in the November?
November 27, yeah.
November 27th, 1898
Right.
in San Nicolas.
Yes.
Okay. And could you describe to me a little bit your family? Did you have brothers and sisters? What kind of work did your parents do?
Well, she knew what, what my aunt only well, that's just first time, We didn't have work. My parents didn't really work for a living. I think
Did they
we
have a
have
piece
little,
of land?
we have a little bit to support us because everything that everything that is grown down there back in the islands, we don't buy very much, and that costs cheap too. So, yeah, I got two sisters back in the island now, and one brother who left while I was young yet, and we don't know where he went. He has a lost brother, and and one brother here in San Francisco now. So I got two sisters and two brothers.
Did you learn how to work in agriculture through your parents?
No.
Did you help cultivate the land at all?
Oh no. Yes. Well, just no. There's only home gardens that I work to. Not in the land out in the field because we have we have property. We have some tenants down there to work. So they raise rice and vegetable and in our place, in our home, we have a little piece of land around, to plant some vegetables so we don't have to buy them.
Right.
So,
Did your brothers and sisters also migrate from the Philippines?
no, only my brother, my young brother, he migrated here. But my two sisters are back in the islands.
They never left.
They never left.
Stayed there. Okay. Could you describe to me a little bit the area where you lived, what it was like, what your life was like as a boy?
Well,
how the climate was and what it looked like?
oh, I see. Back in our province, we call it two seasons, wet and dry season. That is about 6 months of rainy season if it rains all the time, and 6 months for dry season. That's what we call them. So once in a while there's a big storm, flood the town, and then well, that's about all. The climate is hot most of the time, but when it rains, it is nice and temperate, not very hot, not very cold.
Was this a flat area, or did you
Oh,
live
yeah.
in the mountains?
Yeah, it's a flat area. It's in a little town.
Is it near the ocean or inland?
No, it is not very far. Let me see, about maybe from here to Santa Cruz, maybe ocean. We call it Sabangan. That's what they call it, Sabangan.
That's pretty close.
Yeah, yeah.
What were your houses like? What were they built of?
Well, it is what do you call that grass now? Kugong or what? But not nipa. It is like a it's like a tree straw. See, we cut it. They grow it back out in the field outside the town, and we cut them and we use them for roofing. And the sides are mostly bamboos. See, sometimes we use some those high class, a little bit high class houses. They use wood, for walls and flooring, and sometimes they use galvanized roofing. See, but most of the houses are made of bamboos and with straw roofing.
How many rooms did your house have?
One big
One
room,
big room?
yeah, one big room and a kitchen.
Was the kitchen separate?
Separate, yeah.
Was it outside?
Well, the way the houses are built, this is a house, and we have flat floor. We call it bansag or something in Filipino, you know, without any roofing.
I see.
To walk down to the kitchen, and where you put this pots for water for washing, you know.
And where did you get the water for washing?
We have a well.
Oh, you had a well on that same piece of land?
Yeah, in the land, same land.
And what did you use for fuel for cooking?
Wood.
You used wood?
Yeah, we got lots of wood, trees down there.
What kind of foods did you eat?
The principal food we have is rice and meat, pork, sometimes beef.
Did you raise any livestock?
Oh yeah, we raised pigs. We eating chickens.
So basically, your family was self-sufficient. They provided everything they needed to eat.
Right.
What about for clothing?
Well, we buy materials and they fix it. My aunt can fix it. My mother can fix it. You know, and some made up. We got down here Lawag, the capital of the province. Some stores, Chinese stores, you know, and they sell goods, ready-made clothing or materials for selling. You know, that's where we buy our clothing.
Have you ever gone back to your hometown?
Just once in 56, ma'am? Oh, 55.
55?
Yeah,
Had it changed very
much? Well, when we went down, just right, not very far after the war, you know, everything was all demolished, you know, but now they said everything is built. Now it looks pretty good now, they said.
Do your sisters still live in that town or someplace else in the Philippines?
My eldest sister lives in the same town, and my younger sister lives in another town called Cagayan. Cagayan, ma'am.
Was it not right for girls to leave the Philippines to go to Hawaii, to the United States? Is that why they stayed, or did they stay for?
No, but they didn't like migrating very much. Not like doesn't have the I don't know. They don't have the interest to go away. You know, they already stay there. Maybe they're afraid. Maybe because it's a long ways from the islands to come over here.
It can be a very frightening experience to leave the place where you grow up, where you're secure and you have a family, and to just go off. People who migrate are very courageous people.
Right.
I really believe that.
Sure. Maybe that's one reason they don't want to migrate, because they're scared of you know.
I can understand why, going off to someplace you don't know. When you were in school, did they teach English in the schools?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
They did? At what age did you start learning English?
What do you mean?
How old were you when you first started to learn English?
Oh, let me see now. Even I was in the primary. What year is that? I don't know. About maybe 6 or 7 years old when we were in the primary. But that's only like ABC then, not very much yet. Right. But they were teaching English then, from first to 7th grade.
Well, in all of the years that you were going to school, did they teach you about the United States? Did you read books?
Yeah, we have the history of the United States, and when we went to high school, they have a book called The History of the United States.
Did you have what kind of impressions did you have? Well, how did you picture the United States to be?
Oh, we picture it. It's very, very recent. We would like to go. It's very exciting. You know, they said like, well, it's not that, what do you, what do I call it now? A rich country and beautiful country I would like to see, you know, and maybe make a better living or something.
Did you have any kind of expectations or feelings of what it would be like? You know, like a vision of what it was going to be like for you. You know, sometimes before you go someplace, in your mind you have a picture of what it will be, but then when you get there, it isn't necessarily the same thing. And I was wondering if you had a certain picture in your mind when you came to the United States, was it like that or was it different?
Well, it is when before I came, I pictured that United States is a very, very good place, you know. That if you go down there, you see a lot of things more beautiful than the Philippines. So when I get here, I find it is likely what I had dreamed. You know, that I can see better opportunity to make a good living or something like that. So
were there aspects of the United States when you came that were disappointing to you?
no.
You weren't disappointed?
No, I wasn't disappointed in coming here.
Oh, that's wonderful.
Yeah, I like it. As soon as I got here, I like the place. As a matter of fact, when we went back for vacation, we were not able to stay down there very long because I wanted to come back.
Oh.
Especially when we went down, I couldn't stand the heat then. It was too hot. Yeah, the climate is. I'm used of good climate here, you know, and so we went back down. It was too hot.
Yeah, well, it's temperate here. It's just in between. Well, I was curious because, you know, for many people around the world, the United States is this incredible place. And then when they come here and they have to work so hard and the gold is not in the streets, you know, you can't just walk out and shovel the gold. And a lot of people come to the United States and they're not treated very well, you know. People are discriminated against, they're not treated well, and they come and they're very disappointed. Did you have any problems like that, with people not being nice?
No, once more when I had my camp down in town, there were few American people that didn't like Filipino very much. See, but I got along with them. Only that they don't like to employ a lot of Filipinos if they could help it.
They didn't want to?
Yeah, they don't like it very much until after a while. Then they said they would rather have Filipinos than any other national, because Filipinos are not they're not very fast worker, but they're steady worker, you know. Like if they start working, they don't fool around too much like like these Mexican people. So most of the farmers, especially these private farmers, you know, they said even an old Filipino, I would like to keep them better than hiring a Mexican or a wetbacks, they said. So. And they're getting better now to us. They don't despise us anymore like they used to the long years, you know, long before.
I remember reading someplace that there were anti-Filipino riots.
Yeah, there
here
was.
In Watsonville
Yeah, there was.
1920s?
Yeah.
Well, you came here in 1927.
1927, yes.
Do you remember that episode at all? Remember that?
Yeah, I do. We used to, whenever I sent boys to work, they had to send somebody to, like, to guard them, you know, with guns or something. And then the company suggested that we would like to secure one for me, but when we went to apply for it, they didn't want to give to a Filipino because you're hot-tempered, they said. Filipinos are hot-tempered, they said, so they didn't let me have it. Whenever I send some boys, it is accompanied by security guard from the company.
Do you remember that anybody got hurt? Anybody was shot, or that
No.
people burned a house down, or things like that?
Oh, no, I couldn't remember if there is somebody got killed down there, but they used to throw rocks on houses and break the windows, you know.
I heard a story, somebody told me a story that there was a dance hall, a taxi.
Oh, yeah, taxi dance.
Taxi dance.
Yeah, some boys got shot too, and but they never attended those places, you know. I wasn't fond of this because I didn't like it. They had a couple hold on there in Watsonville before, see, and there was one Filipino who got shot, that I remember.
At the taxi dance hall. Why was he shot?
Well, I don't know, I'm a kind of somebody stealing a partner or something like that.
I'm sorry I'm skipping around, but
That's all
I'm
right.
just
That's all right.
remembering something else.
Because a lot of things now that I can't remember is just such a long time.
Well, we'll go slowly. Back home in the Philippines, did your family practice a particular religion? I don't know if there's an official religion in the Philippines.
Oh, yeah, there's different religions under it. We call it Catholic, and we have independent church, and then now, like Baptist. But my family belongs to attended this religion we call independent. It is just like Catholic, you know. Only there is a slight difference in the interpretation of the Bible, I think. But
was it a more traditional religion that included, that was more related to the history of the Philippines? Had more of the older customs?
Yeah, well, this Catholic has the most like that, but this independent is most likely too. We follow the old tradition too.
The town that you lived in, was the community very close? Did people socialize a lot and help each other, work together? I'm curious as to what kind of community life there was.
Oh yeah, well, neighbors, these neighbors are helping each other, you know.
And were families pretty close with each other?
Yes.
And friendly? Because in the United States, people are very separate. You live in this house, you live in that house, and people don't get together very much.
Well, that's right too. You know, one family stay in one house, see, and then another family or another relatives, another house, but they're close together, neighbors. You know. Sometimes a little bit far, but 3-4 miles, you know, but the same town anyway.
Did you live close to other people, or was your house apart?
Yeah, we have close. Our houses are not so very close like San Francisco, you know. One block, maybe, not very far apart. You can shout at your neighbors. Yeah.
You said that when you came to the United States, you went to San Francisco because you had some relatives there. Who were they?
Oh, my cousin and second cousin, something like that. You know, they've been down here in the United States for a long, long time.
Do you remember when they had migrated here?
No, I don't.
Were they from the same town?
Yeah.
What were they doing in San Francisco?
Well, they were working like waitress, waitress or busboy, mostly like that, dishwasher or cook.
Had they come here as single people or as a family?
Yeah, single people, yes.
Were they only men or were there women too?
No, man, mostly
Only
man.
It's very interesting that most of the time it seems that Filipino people, when they came to the United States, came as a single person, and mostly men rather than families
Right,
or,
yeah.
Or a lot of women coming over. In the old days.
Right.
In the old days.
Yeah, mostly men. And then after a while, the man maybe go back and bring his wife.
Well, I could, I'm trying to, see if you remember, in your town, when, did you have medical facilities? Was there a doctor or
Yeah, oh yes.
was there a hospital too?
There is a hospital in this capital of the province, Lawag. That's only about 1.5 kilometers from our town.
Oh, that's pretty close.
Yeah, pretty close. We used to walk down to Lawag to the school. You know, we go at night, and then we are boarding someplace in Lawag, but then when we go to our town on weekends, and then before Monday comes, we walk down at night and go to Lawag. You know.
When children were born, did the mother go to the hospital or did they have midwives? Did they have
Midwife
someone come to
mostly,
them?
yes. Midwife mostly.
And did women help each other out a lot? Did they help each other with work in the house and with the children?
Oh yes, yes.
Like a woman from one house would help a woman
That
from
is
another
that
house?
is if another woman needs some help, another woman never come down and help.
I think I better turn this over.
Hanggang pa niya ang tutulong dito pa, Eliza.
When they're doing something?
Yeah, don't they do that? It's like a canning season time or something?
No, because we don't can things down there like that, you see.
How about the
But
weaving?
if
Your auntie does some weaving and
Before.
your sister?
hmm
Don't they get together to weave?
No.
Is that on?
Yeah, that's all right.
No, my aunt used to, when the niece come over once in a while, because they have that, I don't know what they call that one, they put the bundle of silk and the thing, and they have a spoon like that, they roll it, yeah, you know, and that's the time when they help, when they come, but not necessarily, because one woman can do it, unless it is very urgent, that there's some order or something like that to finish quick.
Were there a lot of traditional customs for holidays or weddings or
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, when there is a birthday party, dances are held. It's like if a friend has a birthday party, he invited friends. We go down and have parties, dancing and everything, and eating and something like in here too.
Yeah, but you don't bring presents too.
Not necessarily in person, not very.
Not in those days.
Yeah.
Were there are there traditional holidays that are celebrated in the Philippines?
Oh yeah, like Christmas and the town fiesta.
Town fiesta. What was that like?
Oh, it's pretty good. Like we have before the town fiesta come, they gathered some girls and boys, to play like comedia. What do you call that? Comedia.
Comedy.
In theater, like a theater,
Mm-hmm.
They practice that, and then like fencing too, and like a history for comedy. So when the town fiesta come, or a lot of people, the theater is all filled up,
Mm-hmm.
watching the program.
Mm-hmm.
That's our tradition. And then December, and then Christmas too. We celebrate those. New Year's
Uh-huh. Was religion very important?
down there. No, not.
The saints,
Uh,
the saints are honored.
Was it
oh yeah,
considered
they are
an
honored.
important? Was it considered an important part of life, or
Oh yes, yes. Those that very religious.
people
They
were
do.
very religious?
Yes, ma'am.
Mm-hmm. What about in the United States? Do you still follow some of these holidays? In the Filipino community, do people get together for these traditional holidays?
Hmm. Oh yeah, once in a while, huh? Mom, we do.
Like
Mostly the religious holidays, or
No, only these members of this Catholic Association, Filipino Association.
mm-hmm.
When they gathered, we all go and we are invited.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. Well, obviously you are married.
Yeah,
When did you get married?
1943. Mom?
And your wife was born in the Philippines.
Yes.
Okay. How did you meet her?
Well, see, when they immigrated here, the father took them down to Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
They stayed down there for. he went to school down there,
Mm-hmm.
and then the father moved in here because on account of his health,
Mm-hmm.
asthma.
Mm-hmm.
And he figured that the climate here in California is a lot better than in Chicago. Chicago is very, very cool.
Mm-hmm.
So he came over and got a job down here in Castroville. So, and then, well, he was making pretty good, so even they can, or here, did he come back down there to take you down, or you just, and then he went back to the islands to bring his family?
Oh, he was here by himself?
Is that it?
Go ahead.
Oh, Dad, right after he served in the First World War in the Navy, and then after the war he went home, and he has found that life is not as lively or adventurous. He was a policeman before he went in the Navy, and he found that it's not quite so, not like in the Navy, having seen the world. So he migrated to America, whose elder brother had migrated earlier. And so he came out here and secured a job here, and he wanted to bring mother. So he went back in 1933. That's the first time he wanted to bring mother and my oldest brother and myself, but mother didn't want to migrate. Women in those days didn't want to migrate as easily as the men. We were comfortable, and just like her families were there. Why leave my home, my family? And so Dad come back here alone in Chicago, that is, Dad lives more. And in 1938, Mom had decided to join Dad. And so we came over with myself and my three brothers. And I have one brother who's born in Chicago, as a matter of fact.
How many children, did you have children, and how many children did you have?
No. Well, we adopted two.
Well,
Yes.
I would say that I would not say adopted. We have a boy and a girl. We have a boy and a girl, and we have acquired our family a little bit late in our married life. We were well into our lives, and our children are now 19 and 20 years old, and they are both on their own right now.
Uh-huh. Okay. From Hawaii, you came to the United States by boat too, didn't you?
By boat, yeah.
How long did that take?
Oh, 4 days, I think it was.
4 days.
Yeah.
Oh,
3
that's
to 4.
much better than 3 weeks.
Oh, yeah, because Honolulu to the islands is very far.
Uh-huh. Okay. Well, you pretty much described how you first got into the work. It was your work as a labor contractor. You didn't start out like some people working in the field.
No, no,
Did you ever work in the field?
no, never did. So,
No, actually, he is out in the field, but the thing
No,
Yeah.
is,
he's not a.
I didn't work
you don't
for a
pick
living, yeah.
crops.
No.
No.
but
Okay.
if once in a while you have
Yeah,
to
once in a
teach
while I help,
Mhm.
but not a regular one.
So you first became a labor contractor in Watsonville,
Yes,
and that was in was
1927,
that 1927?
yeah.
Okay. And that first year you got a license. You mentioned somebody who said, "Why don't you get a
Yeah.
license?"
Mm-hmm.
So you did get a license in 1927.
Yeah, we did.
But you said it wasn't necessary in order to do
Because,
that.
well, not compulsory, I don't think, because nobody said so before.
Uh-huh.
Unless you hire somebody and pay it with your check.
Did you have to be bonded then?
No, I wasn't. They didn't require me to be bonded.
not then, but you have to bond. You have to get a bond, right?
What?
You have to pay bond license.
And getting a license?
No, I'm not talking about license, but isn't there? Don't you have to be bonded
Yes.
for the payroll?
Yes.
If I pay,
Yes, Dad. Even we yes, pay Anderson. Yes, you have to pay a bond.
not I can remember.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe I was, yeah. Because otherwise, the big company we work for, they don't pay you unless maybe they thought I ran away with the money and things like that.
Was that a problem? Did a lot of people run away
Yeah,
with the money?
there was a big problem about that. Men run away with thousands. He never paid his boys.
They
He left.
didn't pay their workers. They just left
Yeah,
with the
they
money.
just left. Yeah,
Did that happen very much?
not very much. Not very much. Once or twice that I heard.
In this area, you mean? Were all the labor contractors Filipino, or were there?
No, I don't. Some of them are Mexican now.
They were Mexican.
Yeah.
Too.
And
Were there
Caucasian.
ever Japanese or
No,
Chinese?
No,
Not in your time?
not in that time.
Mm-hmm.
They're not contractors. Maybe they're farmers. They're good farmers, those Japanese.
How did you arrange for labor contracts when you first started out? Did you just go to pick some farmers to talk to, or did someone give you advice or tell you where to go?
No.
How did you start?
Well, I just keep a lot of boys, and then because those farmers, when they know that there's a place where boys are gathered for work, they contact somebody like me. They call me or they come down and talk to me and say that they need some help. If I could give them some boys to help them.
So they come to you with a request for labor.
Yeah, they come or call on the phone.
How did you get the Filipino boys together in the first place? Did you just go around and say, come live here, or?
Once in a while I engage some boys. Once in a while, some boys knew that I have a camp or I have a house to keep where I could give them help, to find work. They just come down.
So
And sometimes,
they would come to you. You
yeah.
didn't go looking for them.
Oh, no, no, no.
No.
But then if I meet somebody in some place like in pool halls or something like that, and they ask me if they can come down, stay with me, and work for me, then I tell them yes. Then they move in.
When you made arrangements with a grower, when he came and he asked you for labor, was it usually an oral agreement? You know, just by
No,
mouth?
no, that was
Or was there a written
verbal, yeah.
You used to write out a contract?
No, no contract.
Just by word?
By words, yeah.
Just by word. What kinds of things did you make the agreement for? For how many people, for how much the payment was going to be, for what they would do? What kind of things did you agree on with the with the grower?
Well, no, I never made any agreement with them, you know, because they pay the regular standard wages, you know. And then sometimes they said, I'll give you a little bit for yourself, for commission or for your transportation. That's it. But I don't ask them, you know. I never ask them. I just give them, and then some they give it by contract, like in thinning. If they give it, if the boys want it for $10, the farmers give me $12. That's $2 for me and $10 for the boys. Like a little commission, but it is not a written agreement, you know.
Do you think it's better to just do it like that, or to have a written agreement?
I think it's
The reason why I ask is because sometimes people say one thing and they do something else, but when it's written on a piece of paper, you have proof of what they said. Did you ever have any problems with growers where they
No, I
backed
never.
out of an agreement?
No, I never did. Only one time, you know, in the early years, that it's hard for me to collect money. You know, sometimes they didn't pay me. I lost a little bit on that. And one farmer back in close to Salinas, I worked for him, and he didn't pay me the whole wages.
Do you remember who that was?
I don't. This is my early days there.
This was in lettuce?
Yeah, working on vegetable.
And he promised to give you a certain amount of money, and then he didn't give it to you.
Yeah, the wages of the boys.
What happened afterwards? What did you do?
No, nothing. I just disregarded it because I couldn't help. I couldn't do nothing.
Did the workers get paid, or did they not get pay either?
Well, no, they didn't get paid, and it's not very much anyway. So I said, oh, well, these boys didn't matter so much. They didn't squat. They knew that I wasn't able to collect, so they didn't charge me anything.
Did you ever have any other kind of problems with growers? Did they try to interfere with your work crews or mistreat the workers in some way?
No.
Did they mix in?
No, because most of these farmers never come around if they're working, you know. Once in a while, the bosses come around and they tell me, how to do it, and they tell me how to tell the boys to do, you know. So they don't bother us so much anyway.
They would leave everything up to you. I see. Well, you said one time a grower didn't pay you. Did you ever get into a situation where you could not fulfill the contract, where you had to break the contract in some way? You know, where a grower asked you for a certain number for your crew, and then you couldn't finish the harvest or something. Did that ever happen?
Oh no, we don't make a contract to start and finish. But yes, whenever a farmer comes to me and asks me for some help, that is like for thinning, I give them somebody to thin.
Yes.
And then it's up to them again for the next, if they need hoers again, they come to me again. If I can give them somebody, all right. If they don't, if I don't, they go to another place to get some help. That's all. We don't contract for for a work to from the beginning to the end.
Oh, no,
No.
only for certain things.
No,
I
certain
see.
thing. Yes.
Which growers did you deal with in those years? Do you remember any names of the growers?
Oh, even Japanese farmers, small farmers, you know.
Mostly small farmers?
Yes.
Did you ever
Except
deal with the big ones?
only this big company, you know, this Barba that I work for. Yeah.
But otherwise only with small farmers?
Yeah.
Were they usually Japanese growers?
Oh, some are Italians and some are white man farmers.
Like, were they German or Yugoslavian?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of Yugoslavian people have
Oh, a lot of
here.
them. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Well, did you ever form work crews for the orchards or just for the fields?
Just for the field, yeah.
Just for the fields.
Mm-hmm.
Did you find any difference among the growers if you were dealing with Japanese farmers or with white farmers or with another kind of farmer? Was there any difference working with those people?
Yeah, well, this Japanese is a little bit stricter in doing some work. And then there's most of these other nationalities, they're not very, well, they're satisfied the way I do. I tell my boys to work.
Yeah.
But sometimes the Japanese, they come on, they don't even want you to, the boys to wear a glove. See? Because if you wear a glove, if you thin, the lettuce, the way they planted before are all very thick, you know. It's not like now that they can plant mostly far apart.
Mm-hmm.
But before they were all clustered.
Mm-hmm.
So if you wear a glove, they said, if you miss a double in there, you cannot pick it up with a glove.
Oh.
So they don't like you to wear a glove. So because it is easier to pick one plant with a finger without any gloves.
So it was harder working with the Japanese farmers than with
the boys didn't like it very much before, but then after a while they didn't care. That don't use glove then, because the boys find out that if they're beginners, it's cool in the morning. You know, they want to have a glove, but then when they get used to it, then they didn't mind and they never used it because they find out that it is easier to work and faster if they don't use any gloves.
Did you work for the same growers every year after year, or did every year you work for different people?
No, the same every year.
Every year the same growers?
Sometimes if a new grower comes, I give them again, but mostly the same growers every year. No change.
For how many growers at one time, during a season, did you arrange contracts? Did you just one grower during the season, or 10 growers? Or how many growers did you work with at a particular time?
Well, it all depends how many boys I had. Then, if one grower comes down, he needs about 5 boys, I give him 5 boys. And then another growers, if he needs some, they come down and ask for so many boys. So, that's the way we work.
Well, so let's say in one season, how many different growers would you get boys for? 5, 10, 15, 20?
4 or 5, steady growers, steady customers of mine.
Okay, I understand.
Until I came to this company, then I didn't bother supplying anybody then. See, because I only supply this company, I only work for this company then.
I see. Did the growers ever tell you other people to go to for contracts? Do they recommend go see so and so and he needs some help?
Oh yeah. Sometimes they tell me to go and see somebody that needs some help. But I don't make contract with them, Just verbal work. I go ask them if do you need somebody? Okay. If they do, how many? Then I give them.
I see. Does a grower usually deal with one contractor at a time, or Will he go to several contractors for workers?
Yeah, he does. If one contractor cannot supply him, then he can go to the other one, the other camp.
Did you ever work in another county or only in Santa Cruz County?
When I didn't get to this company yet, he only worked around Watsonville and around this vicinity. But when I work steady for the company, sometimes they buy lettuce in Gilroy, or sometimes in Salinas. So different counties, San Benito County and Santa Cruz County and
So
Monterey
you had to
County.
move around a little bit.
Yeah, because the
As far as Gonzales. Gonzales, Springfield, these people there.
yeah, Springfield and Salinas. Yeah.
When you had to move around with this company, did your workers go with you, or did you find workers in that city? In that
Oh,
town?
yeah. I have my own workers, so I bring them down to any place where the company.
I see. You would take them there.
Yeah.
So when you went to another place, how did you bring them back every night, or did you stay there?
Yeah, we bring them. We load the boys in a truck. Go to work there, and then after work in the evening we come home.
So the fields were never very, very far away. It wasn't like
No.
in Imperial Valley. Or
Oh,
something
no.
else. Okay.
This company of mine never worked in Imperial Valley.
Did you ever arrange any contracts with women growers?
No.
Oh, they were only men growers?
Yeah, only.
What responsibility did you have to the grower? Or what kind of service did you provide for the grower?
Well, probably everybody we work for, they seem to be satisfied, So the services that I give them, they like it. So.
Yeah. Well, what exactly did you do for the grower? I know you went and you would get the boys, and you would provide the transportation to go to the fields. Was there anything else that you did? Did you provide? Well, you had housing for the boys too,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I board them too,
And meals.
Board and room, meal. Board and room.
Meals. Did you also do any kind of bookkeeping? Did you keep records for
Oh
the
yeah,
workers?
I keep my time, my bookkeeping,
Did you did all of that yourself, or did you have somebody help you?
No.
You did that yourself. And then you would pay the workers yourself?
Yeah.
Did you supervise them in the field?
Yeah, I go down there and look for them, what they're doing, but I don't have to stay with them. Because I had my driver to watch them, and show them what I wanted them to do.
Oh, so your driver was also like a foreman?
Yeah,
for
like
you?
a foreman, yeah.
What kind of arrangement did you make with him? Did you
Well,
pay him a certain amount?
no. The farmers will pay him
Yeah.
as usual, and then being a driver of the truck, I don't charge him board.
Oh,
But I don't pay him
you
for
didn't pay
driving.
the driver,
No,
but
not
you would
for
give him a place to live.
living.
And the farmer
Yeah.
would pay the driver for the
Yeah,
transportation.
like the regular workers.
Did the workers have to pay for their transportation?
No,
That was
I
included?
never charge them any.
Okay. Did you have to provide things like, I don't know what they had in those days. Now they have like a toilet in the field. Don't they? Did they have those things
No,
then?
we never did before.
So you didn't have to provide any kind of facility?
No.
What about tools? Did you have to give your workers tools to work
Oh,
with?
they buy themselves.
The workers would get their own tools. And was it up to you to distribute boxes in the field for them to put the lettuce in? Did you have to bring boxes out into the field?
No.
Who would do that?
What boxes do you mean?
Well, when you pick a crop,
Oh, when the cutting, Well, the company, now these farmers never cut their letters. I don't give boys to cut their letters.
Oh, no. Oh,
No, only the shippers cut letters, you know.
So you were never involved
No.
in the picking part?
No, oh, well, not before when I wasn't in this company yet. But when I was in the company, then.
Then you were. So before.
But I don't bring the boxes. The workers in the shed will bring the boxes.
I see.
Until well, let me see, when I moved in.
That in the early days, your main job was to provide
Workers.
thinners. Workers for thinning the crop
Sure.
and pulling.
When that's it.
Oh, I see. Okay. How did you originally find your workers? Did you, was there a particular part of town where you would get your workers because that's where all the Filipinos live? Or, or because they were your friends and you knew them? Was there a gathering place for the Filipino community?
No. I never had for my work for this Filipino workers before. They come down, then they knew me, and I know the place. You know, they just come down.
So you never had to go out and recruit people.
No, I never recruit people. No.
I was wondering because.
What? Huh? Yeah, but I don't recruit. They just if they ask, you have a job, all right. I don't.
You never had to go out and really actively look for people.
No. That's what I mean. You know. Looking around, not for people, you know, to come in your camp. But I never did.
Well, I imagine some people put up signs that they needed workers. You didn't have to do anything like that?
No. But if I was short of help, I go to the next camp and ask their boss if he has some extra boys that he can use. That's all.
Okay. When you got your workers, was there any quality in your worker that you looked for? Did you want only single men, only younger, not older? Or was there anything you looked for to have a good worker?
No.
Or did you just accept anybody who came?
Who came that is old enough, and you know.
How old is old enough?
17 maybe or 18, you know.
And you only accepted them if they wanted to live in your camp?
No, I don't. If they live someplace and they want to work, they can come if I need them.
Oh, I see.
I don't force them to stay in my camp.
But so, did you have workers who didn't live in your camp also?
Oh yeah.
How many? Did you have more who lived in your camp or more who lived outside?
More that lived in my camp.
Camp.
Because I had 2-3 houses, you know. And then sometimes farmers need more, so next door or those people that are close to us, they come and help.
If your workers didn't live in the camp, where did they live?
They're in apartments or house nearby, in town.
In Watsonville.
Yeah, in Watsonville.
Your work crews, were they mostly Filipinos?
Yeah, mostly during the early days. Yeah.
In the 20s.
Yeah.
And in the 30s?
Mostly until I moved here, and I had different nationalities then.
When did you have different nationalities?
After the war.
After the war.
And during the war, yeah.
Okay.
Because most of the Filipinos they have went to the service, and then they never come back. Only a few come back, so I had to get some other nationalities then.
So all those years in the 20s and 30s, you only had Filipino workers. Did the growers prefer to have only Filipinos or Mexicans? Did they like to have a mixed work crew, or they wanted only one?
I don't think they did care because they never mentioned anything about it. But only when let me see, lately, after the war, there were not very many Filipinos then, see, because some of them migrated to other places. Some of them stayed in the islands, back home maybe. So we didn't have very many Filipinos then. That's the time then that I heard that they would rather have Filipinos than other nationalities.
Okay. Since you have worked with other nationalities, do you prefer one kind of worker over another? Who are your best workers?
I like to take care of Filipinos better than Mexicans. Mexicans are sometimes they're so stubborn, you can't tell them something, and they don't work so good. And most of the farmers squawk them, and then it is my fault.
Oh, because you're
So,
responsible
yeah.
for the workers.
Yeah.
I see. Your Filipino workers, were they all immigrants?
Yeah, they were aliens, yeah, yeah.
So were they here? But were they here legally or?
Yeah, it was during this time, the Philippines belonged to the United States, yeah. We migrated, most Filipinos migrated. They go to Honolulu and work down there a little bit and then move here. Then they find out that I like here better, so they stay around.
Were you, during those years, were you aware of any laws that were affecting immigration for Filipinos or for Mexicans? Do you know what kind of laws at the time said you could immigrate or you couldn't be an immigrant?
No, not those early years, no, because when I came over here, the Philippines belonged to the United States, yes.
Right.
And then most of the people that were here during the early days too, they migrated to Honolulu and then come over here. So we were not so aware of this immigration officer before until when was that? When was that year, that day?
There's always a limit every year, Dad.
Yeah, limit, but then...
Was there a limit in those days?
No, not in those days, earlier. No, everybody, no.
Quota?
Quota? There was no quota in the 1920s.
I don't think so. There's a lot of people. Huh?
But then, the reason why I ask is because I remember there was a law passed in 1934.
Oh, that's it, yeah.
And then only 50 Filipinos a year could migrate to the United States. So I was wondering if that had any effect on your work. Did it mean that you had fewer workers
No,
when they weren't coming over?
no. Because we had enough old-timers.
Oh, I see. So it was never a problem for you?
No, it wasn't a problem. Because then, by then, and then I moved in here in 1937. So I could get different now because the company needs more, and we got some places, got buildings to hold some other kind of nationality. So I used to hire these wetbacks now that we call, or locals. But then the trouble with these locals, they don't stick around too much. They work 1 week and then lay off for another week. So we could really depend on them, you know.
Just say they just earn just enough for the
Yeah. For the bottles and something.
You said later on during the war and after the war that your crews were mixed
Yeah, right.
nationalities.
Yes.
Was there a problem having people from different nationalities working together, or did they work together all right?
They work together all right. Sometimes in the camp they just argue or fight a little bit, you know. But in the field they work all right together.
There was no problem.
No problem.
Having a mixed crew.
No.
Okay. When you had these other workers, were they also single men, or did they come in as a family?
Single men, because they couldn't live in the camp with their wives, you know.
So
Unless-
you only worked with single men?
Yeah. Well, yes, unless somebody that lives around not too far with their family, they can come and work, but they don't live in the camp.
We don't have the facilities for families.
Yeah, that's it.
Did you ever organize women workers too, or only?
No.
No. Okay. Well, how did you determine how many workers for a job? Did you decide on the number, or did a grower tell you how many workers?
The growers tell me how many they want. If I could give them that amount, be all right. If it is less, all right. If it's a little bit more, that's okay. We don't do it.
Okay. And how large were your crews generally? What was an average size? Did you
About
for a
20,
job?
25.
20, 25? Did the number of workers vary, change according to the crop that they were working on?
All right. Yeah.
For example, if they were working with lettuce, how many would you need for a job?
In harvesting lettuce, when when we start cutting lettuce with this company, because this company we're using what do you call it, big truck, wide truck that goes through the field. I have I have two boys on each side, and then 3 boys at the back. There's 7, and then sometimes we need 4 trucks. That is 7 times 4 is 28.
I see. So you'd have 28. What about for sugar beets?
Before they used to top it themselves. They plow it, and then boys go down and top them, and put it in file. I don't need very many in there. If you have about, if it's not a very big piece, you need about 9 or 10 to top.
What is how big would it be? How many acres?
Sometimes the biggest one I have is about 12 to 15 acres.
And so you'd have 9 or 10 workers? I see. Okay. And were you able to provide steady work for these boys? Was there always something to work on, or were there months during the year when there was no work?
Yeah, there's a month of the year that they don't have any work.
For example, lettuce and sugar beets don't come out at the same time, do they?
No.
So if they weren't working on, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, no, sorry. That's okay. No, what did you?
Well, if they're not, let's say 1 month they work on lettuce, 1 month they work on sugar beets, what else do they work on?
The company used to plant lettuce, and then sometimes when lettuce is over, cauliflower comes, or broccoli.
I see.
And then that is during the early parts of the winter. See, sometimes in summer, before, after finishing this lettuce, they have string beans picked. So
there would always be another crop
yeah,
to go on.
until about December. Yeah, December, January, February. February sometimes there is, because if the weather is good, they can plant lettuce early. See, and comes about February to thin them. But sometimes, like this year, they were not able to plant early, so the boys start late. There's about 3-4 months vacation. There's workers and vegetables.
It looks like the tape is going to end. So, the 2-story building that you had, did the company build it specially for the workers?
No, not especially. There's an old building. Used to be a family building, I suppose, before he bought the place, I think. but it was in good condition yet, you know.
Oh, it was in good condition. Did it have bathrooms and
Oh, yeah.
kitchen and everything?
Oh, yes. As a matter of fact, it was the place where the kitchen was.
Uh-huh.
We have a big dining room and one kitchen, and then a bathroom. But when the company built that big bathroom down there, we pull out the bathroom in the house
Uh-huh.
because they can just walk out to the bathroom if they had to go. You know, it's too close to the house.
Uh-huh. I see. How did you start working for this company? I don't remember the name of the company.
Frank V. Verbeck. V. Verbeck.
Beaverback.
Yeah. The Verbeck. B-I-R. B-E-C-K.
Uh-huh.
But the initial is V.
V. Okay. How did you start to work for them in
Well,
1937?
Oh, when I was in town yet, you know, we used to work for them. They used to come and call me and work for them. See? So when the company was getting a little bit bigger, I suppose, and needed a steady foreman, they contacted me and asked me if I want to move here in the camp and build a camp in here. So I said, all right, because I thought it was better than for me to stick in one place, not moving around too much, looking for some jobs or something like that. So, excuse me. So I moved in.
So you moved in here.
Mm-hmm.
And what kind of crops were they growing?
Oh, they were growing sugar beets, lettuce, and string beans.
Do you remember how many acres they had?
I didn't have very much acre for themselves, but they used to buy and pack some lettuce from some farmers. So we had to work even as far as close to Gilroy. Yeah. And Salinas too, we go to some place there to cut lettuce.
So actually what they did was they made a contract with a farmer.
Must be. When the farmers contact them, you know, they want to pack their lettuce, and the conditions agrees to them, well, we cut them.
I see. Did the company pay you a regular salary to run the labor camp?
Yeah, as a foreman, wages, you know.
Did they pay you by the hour or by...
By the hour.
Oh, they did pay you by the hour.
So much an hour.
How much did they pay you by the hour when you first started working for them?
Let me see now. I don't remember how much this company paid me. This. But I got more than the laborers, though.
So, you think you got $1 an hour, or?
Oh, yeah.
And did they increase that all the time?
Yeah, when as the year comes, changes, the rate increases a little bit.
You're still working with them now?
Oh, this Barba company?
Yeah.
No, when the old man died.
What year did he die?
In 1962.
I see.
And then the son tried to run the business for about 3 years. Then he couldn't take it, I suppose, because I think he's not built up for agriculture like that.
Yes.
He gave it up. So from then I was retired and worked until this company who has a Filipino manager before, and this field manager, you know,
Right.
because he got, I think he had part in the company. So he asked me to go and help him once in a while. So once in a while I go and pay me so much an hour to watch the boys.
What is the name of this company?
West Coast Farm.
West Coast Farm. Is that in Aromas?
No, in Watsonville, on Beach Road.
So do you still have to organize workers for them, or you
No,
just go
no.
to watch them?
Just to watch them.
And they pay you to supervise?
Yeah.
Would it be too personal to tell me how much they pay you now? I'm trying to see how the wages have changed.
Oh, yeah. Now, since And, last year, this is last year they pay me by the week then. Before they used to pay me by the hour, like 3.5 an hour, you know. And then a little bit every time it rests up a little bit until this last year they fixed my wages, no, my pay regularly and by the week.
By the week?
Yeah, so they give me about $200 a week.
How many hours do you have to
Oh, sometimes like this now, because I'm watching the school children.
Yes.
And they are not supposed to work more than 8 hours. Sometimes you work lesser than that, but then being paid by the week, if I don't have to watch the boys, I go to the packing house, you know, ask them something to do or fool around to pass the day, you know, because I'm paid then.
So, how much time are you working for them now?
Well, I work about when the school closes, I start working with them.
I see.
And then when it opens again, about a week before it opens, because they give the children, the boys and girls, 1 week grace, I suppose.
I see.
So, but they let me work yet a little bit after that. So I work a little bit on. I stamp crates for salaries. So it was wet field. I was going wet field. The salaries, you know, it's muddy sometimes. It's too wet to go through. So I said, "Oh, I can't take it."
Too wet?
But I don't have to. If you know, if I didn't want to, all right. Rest, and then next year again. This is, you know, if they call me again, well, I'll go again this year. About June, when the school closed.
Do you see that being a labor contractor changed very much from how it was in the 1920s to the 1930s and 40s? Did the job stay pretty much the same, or were there changes in the kind of work you did?
It's pretty much the same.
It is pretty much the same?
Yeah. Only a little bit harder because these companies are paying a little more than this wages now, so they're a little bit stricter.
So the work is harder now?
A little bit harder. So.
What advice would you give to someone who decided to become a labor contractor? What would you tell that person? Because you have had so much experience. What advice could you give somebody who wanted to be a labor contractor?
Well, at first you have to have a license, you know, nowadays, and then contact some big farmers or big company, and if you think you can supply them work or boys to work, well, you promise them, then maybe you can get the job. Like this contractor now, in Mexican contractor from Hollister, who used to, this company used to take them down to the hut. So once in a while, because they knew I was been a contractor for a long time, you know, asked me some questions and things like that. So I said, yeah, if you want to keep this job, what they tell you, they ask you to do it. And if they want so many boys, try to get it. If you can't get it, tell them and why. So, and then tell your boys to work nice and do what the company wants, so that they trust you. Once they trust you, why you can get in. Like now, when last year, lately, when before this Filipino manager got sick, you know, he wanted this man to get a license then. So he did. He's still working now.
Did you like your work?
It's weird.
Yeah.
There's nothing got to it.
there certain aspects of your work that you didn't like? You know, everybody has some kind of job, and there's some things about the job you like and some things you don't like.
No, I like this job. Good. But now I'm retired, so even now I can't work so much. But if they want me, I go because I like it.
Oh, you do like it?
Yeah.
What do you like about it?
It's not so hard about it, and then you know, out in the sun and. So I don't move around. So maybe that's why I'm like people a bit guilty at to my age. You know, a lot of people said they don't believe it because I'm still moving around good. You know, and still beating some of the young kids or something for doing something.
Well, I agree with you. My father is 72 years old.
Oh, yeah? Still young.
He works every day.
Sure,
Every day.
It's not better to move around, you know. Like some people I know that they don't want to, they just stay around and don't do nothing. They die young.
That's true. You know, I forgot to ask you if you became a citizen of the United States.
Yeah, I did. 1956, I think that's before we took vacation. I went to school for about, night school for citizenship.
Yes.
And then I passed the examination, and then before we made the trip, I got my papers.
And you went back to the Philippines in 1956?
Yeah.
For how long did you stay?
We were supposed to stay 3 months, but I couldn't take the weather down there. I was used in this kind of climate here. So we stayed about a month down in the Philippines, or a little over a month.
Have you traveled any place else?
Oh yeah, Chicago once in a while. As a matter of fact, before we went to the island, we left here before Thanksgiving to be in Thanksgiving in Chicago. That's where we took a flight to London and then go around. We stayed in room the longest because the climate was pretty good down there, and there's an American restaurant down there. They fix food that we like, and then shop a bit before we proceed to the Philippines. That's before Christmas then.
When you were leaving the Philippines, did you leave with the idea that you were going to go to make money and then come back home, or did you go with the idea to stay?
In here, the first time, no, we were supposed to come here and go to school, continue my studies, you know. But when I got to the state, I think this relative of mine who was living in Frisco there, they were spoiled people too, you know. They just like moving around and was not go to school. Well, one of them is ex-serviceman, lieutenant, the Philippine Scout. He was there too, you know, living. He was working, I think, kind of clerk in some firm down there in San Francisco. So I got to, they spoiled me. Then I forgot all about going to school then. So I just, and then I didn't want to go then.
Was there something special that you wanted to study? Did you have a dream to become a...
No, I had a dream before I got hurt, you know, but then after that one, I didn't care. I didn't have any. Yeah, I was fond of military thing. As a matter of fact, when I was in the fourth year in high school, they had this cadet thing like in schools, you know, before, and I was appointed as a colonel, and I love it, you know. So then when I got hurt, so I forgot all about it because I broke my arm and I can't, I'm not, you know. So they don't want me then, I think. So aside of that, I didn't dream anything about it.
Was it a custom for people who came here to send money back to the Philippines, to the families? Do you know what I mean? When you come to the United States and you make money here, did you send money back to your family?
Oh yeah.
You did?
We send them a little bit, help them. They ask you because they figure down there, they figure that money is just easy to get in here. So they ask you, and if they have it, I send them. That's before when I got married. Even after, we used to help them a little bit.
Is there any story that you would like to tell me, or anything else that you would like to talk about?
Nothing in particular.
No?
I think we almost covered my little biography,
Yes? Okay. Did I leave anything out?
No, no.
Okay. Well, thank you very much. I'm
It
glad
will
that we covered so much.
I hope it will come all right.
I'm
the
sure it
satisfaction of everybody that can read,
I'm sure it will be fine. With Frank, Barba, and Aromas. Today is April 25th, 1977. Maybe I'll put this over here. That'll be easier. I meant to ask you about your trip on the ship from
Manila to
Manila?
Yeah, Manila is
to
the
Hawaii.
capital.
You said that took 3 weeks.
Yeah, almost. Yeah.
Do you remember how much it cost?
No, I don't. It was not so very high. The fare was not so very high then, because everything was slow. But I can't remember how much I paid for it. But before before I came to the United States, I wanted to secure a free trip, like my aunt and the husband. They were they took them, as a worker. See, that's what I wanted to do too, but then I wasn't qualified. So
What did you have to do in order to be
to
qualified?
report to the. I don't know. They just take those little workers, and you know how to work hard. So they examine all your form and everything, and your standing and your wealth, health, So I didn't qualify.
Oh, that's too bad. So you had to pay.
I had to pay, so I had to write my aunt to send me some money for the transportation, So he gave me. While I was waiting, I left my little town where I live, and went to Corridor and lived with the brother of my aunt. And my uncle, he was in the service then, and he was stationed in Corridor. So I went down there, and once in a while I go Manila by boat or by bus for a little vacation before I came over here. When the money came, so I started to Honolulu then.
What kind of ship was it?
It was a big presidential line, they call them. And the name of the ship is President Cleveland.
President Cleveland.
Yeah, I can remember that.
So it was an American ship?
Yeah.
And what were the conditions like on the ship for sleeping and for eating?
Oh, you have quarters and beds in there, but it was not so modern like nowadays. But it was comfortable and good one too.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah.
Were people very crowded together?
Oh no, in the room, so many people. You have a cabin in there, or you have bigger rooms where 2 or 3 people can stay. It's a family, So, and we have a good platform too on top of the ship, which is a big one. We used to play there, and lots of recreation down there too.
And what kind of food did they provide? Was it Filipino food?
Yeah.
They gave you Filipino food?
Yeah, because the cooks and things serving the other were Filipinos.
Oh, that's good.
Yeah, but most of the officers and owner of the ship are Americans. You know.
What other kind of people were on the ship? Was it mostly for going
Filipino?
between Philippines and Hawaii, or was it a kind of luxury liner that also people took a vacation on?
It's just a ship, big ship like this, you know. Because in these days we didn't even have airplane coming down there yet.
I see.
So,
But you were sick during the passage. You were sick on the ship.
yeah, 1 week. The first week that we made the trip, I got sick in bed. But I managed to, they come to help me to go on that deck, and they used to interview you or check, you know. So every passenger go up on top of the deck and they check them. So
I'm sorry, go ahead.
So if I was so sick, somebody will come and help me and bring me up. You know.
Do you remember whether there were women on the ship too, or only men?
Oh yeah, there were women, yeah, passengers too, and there's vacationers or adventurers or something like that. See.
Were they Filipino women?
And some are different nationalities, Japanese, Chinese, and American too. You know, because during these days there were a lot of American families down there too. You know.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, they lived down there for a long, long time.
And then, were there families that went to Hawaii specifically to work?
No, not in that.
Not on that ship?
No, because they have a different transportation if they're taken as contracted as a laborer, you know.
I see. Okay. How was your trip from Hawaii to the United States?
Well, I paid my fare too, and here it was cheap. It's not very much.
Well, do you remember? Was it $20, $50?
Oh, more than that. More than that. Around in the hundreds, I think, or maybe. It's a long time.
Were you able to pay yourself because you worked in Hawaii, or did you get money?
I took money from my wife because that $1 a night is not enough. Because I only work about a month down there. I didn't stay very long because they induced me to come ahead, excuse me, and observe the situation around here, you know. So I came ahead, and then pretty soon I wrote them that life is better in here. It looks better. I said, that is if you work.
Yeah, if you work, yes.
Yeah. So they came about the end of December, I think it was. My aunt said. So when they came in, previous that time, before they came, I lived with a couple of my cousins and friends in a big apartment. You know.
That was in San Francisco?
Yeah, that was in San Francisco. And I worked in a job down there as a busboy during the day. Excuse me. I have a frog in my throat.
Do you want to get something to drink?
No.
Okay.
and then at night, I was able to get a job too as a waiter at the San Francisco Hotel at night time. I worked half a day, and the Emporium was a busboy. I think I was getting about $60 a month.
Was that hard work?
Well, not hard work, just collect the dishes, empty dishes, you know, and put in a tray and take it down to the kitchen. So, but I like waiter better, but it's cleaner job. Yes. And you get some tip to it. Yes. So, well, I worked about 6 months, I suppose, until my aunt and the husband moved to Stockton. They went to they love adventures too. You know, they want to look places, and they work too. Right? They went to the little town of camp of Sherman Island at Nacolum, where they raised asparagus, and I think they work in the kitchen, feeding boys, worker boys, I think, until they moved to Watsonville. And there in Watsonville, then we had lots of Filipino friends, you know, old timers and just newcomers and things like that. And so they formed a little camp. They rented about a couple houses where they can house some boys that want to work. See? So they secured a job, one company who lives in Salinas, but they have a camp right here at the bottom of the Warner Hill. So they worked for them for a long, long time. And by that time I moved to Stockton too, while they were in Stockton. And I had a job down there too as a night clerk. So I moved from Frisco to Stockton and worked down there for almost 2 years, I think, before I joined my aunt and uncle here in Watsonville.
Do you remember what it was like here during the Depression?
Excuse me. Well, during the Depression, it's hard to go out and work because then strike came too after that, you know. The wages.
What strike? The Salinas strike in 1934?
Yeah, that's it. But during the first years, it was all right. We were getting about 50 cents an hour then before the Depression. When the Depression came, it went down to 25 cents to as below as 15 cents too. But then if you buy bread, it's only 7 cents a loaf. If you buy eggs, only about 10 cents a dozen. Everything is cheap. As a matter of fact, these boys that we kept in the camp, we board them, you know, and we house them and board them, and they pay 50 cents a day for house and lodging. We didn't make very much, but that's helping everybody, you know, and keep us moving.
Who did the cooking?
We hired when my aunt and uncle were holding the camp. They did the cooking. But when I took over, when they moved to another place, that is the company that they had been working for quite a while, you know, and the company asked them to move to the camp. So they did, and then that's why I moved to Watsonville and took over. When I was here in Watsonville, I had to hire a cook.
Did you hire a woman or a man?
No, a man at first.
A Filipino man to cook?
Yeah. So, but everything was cheap. That's all right.
Was there work during the Depression?
Oh yeah, there
was
work.
work?
Well, this was work, but they pay little, you know. In some places they pay 15, as low as 15 cents, but that's not hard work. And those that are paying a little more, a little bit harder work.
Yeah. So, do you think that people suffered during the Depression?
Oh, we did suffer a little bit, you know. Not maybe enough to live on, but not enough money for leisure, you know, for going to show and something like that.
But do you think that people didn't have food to eat during that time, or did everybody?
No. Well, there's people outside, I don't know, maybe we were crying a little bit, but then those that are staying in the camp, we managed because we are responsible because we take them to feed them and work for them. We still have few money to spend by groceries and stuff like that we need.
You know, also during that time, wasn't it in 1930 that there were riots here in Watsonville?
Yeah, that's what.
Do you remember the riots in January 1930?
I have a little line that, but I couldn't remember just when and what time, you know. But I know there was a riot there because still there are a lot of farmers that want boys to work. So the big companies that hired us, they give somebody as to watch us, you know, guard the boys while out in the field.
To watch you because it was dangerous?
Yeah.
Because other people would come?
And come and hurt you or something like that.
See.
And then sometimes, you know, at nights, if you are not, they come around, some bad boys or men maybe throw rocks in your windows and things like that.
Do you remember Fermin Tobera? Fermin Tobera?
Fermin.
was
The contractor? Or?
in that riot. He was a Filipino worker who was shot. He was in one of the labor camps in one of the bunk houses, and they came around shooting.
Yeah.
And they shot through the building and they killed him.
Yeah,
Do you remember that?
I remember that. It was, he was killed. He was laying and sleeping, I suppose, and somebody shooting went through and right to him to the bed. And then those dancing halls too. There were some troubles too sometimes, shooting and a kind of women, girls.
Do you know why there were those riots in 1930? What started the riots?
I don't know. I was just wondering then why. This was all of a sudden I was trouble. So I didn't know what the cause was, or maybe about I don't know, because American people and some other nationalities before they discriminate Filipinos a little bit, maybe some of those brave Filipino, young Filipinos before were tried to, maybe they start trouble. So I think that's one of the reasons too, I think. Or
Do you remember what happened here in Watsonville at that time?
Well, nothing. That didn't bother me. Nobody bothered me when I just go back and forth in town because our house our camp is close to town. It's only about two and a half blocks. See, so I used to go to town, and during those times there were some Chinese gambling houses and pool halls and things like that. We used to go play around. So I wasn't bothered.
Nobody hurt you, or
Oh yeah,
somebody did hurt you?
Yeah, somebody one night, and a kind of a girl too. That I was fond of somebody, and there's someone that is very fond of her too, I think. So he got so jealous because he couldn't. The girl was trying to give a little bit more attention to me, I suppose. It's a Japanese girl running a pool hall. So I used to go down there every night to play, or every day to play pool. And we got acquainted, and I got her as a sweetheart, And this man, and this boy, who had been running after her for quite a while, I suppose. And that's one thing. I was not very sure that he was, but that's what I heard, that hired somebody that bed boy, Filipino bed boy too. So one night I was playing pool, and he came around, this man who was trying to run around with my girl too,
What nationality was
Filipino.
He was Filipino.
Filipino too. So I was just wondering, he was so jelly at the time, and he come around and grab me and dance around me, and maybe that's why he was showing to that man who I was, that he was going to hurt me. So when I was playing pool then, I remember this. So when the game was over, I went next door for the Japanese gambling that play Reno, like a Kino game, So I went to mark tickets down there. So when I passed, there was boys down outside the door, and when I turned my back, he hit me right here. I was down flat.
Who were those boys?
One whom I know, but he knows this boy too, but he didn't.
Were they Filipino?
Oh yeah, all
They were all
Filipinos.
Filipinos.
They're Filipinos. Even this boy that hit me on the head with the butt of a gun. See, so I fell down unconscious, and then this other boy said that he was going to shoot me, but he said, "No, don't. Go ahead, go away now before the cops come." He told him. That's what he told me. That's what he told to the other people. He didn't tell me direct because he didn't want to know that he knows him. So he ran away. They left me there. So when I gained consciousness, I got up as if nothing happened. I went down inside and marked tickets. Only I was knocked down unconscious, you know. It didn't hurt so bad. Only a little lump near behind. So
But that was more.
I don't know what.
That was
Yeah.
among the Filipino people.
Yeah.
But did you ever have trouble like that with the white men?
No.
No one ever hit you
No.
or.
No.
Did people say things when you walked down the street?
No.
Because
No.
I had heard that during that riot, there was a dance hall out on Beach Road,
Yeah.
and that they had white girls there for the taxi dance hall,
That's it.
and that the white men in town got very upset, and so they went out there and they started beating up Filipino men.
Yeah, because I don't know anything about that because I wasn't fan of those things and like those dancing halls. I didn't never went down
You
there.
didn't go to those?
No, not even. There is one, two in town, right close to Main Street now. There was a building down there that have a hall there. I never went inside to that. So I didn't want to fool around with this things. I know there are a lot of trouble, so I didn't want to.
Did you know that? Did you know Filipino people, the community? Did the community get together and organize and help each other when there were those riots?
No, not then. We never form a society then or what. But only friends help each other, you know. But nowadays, why we made a group now, it's like a Filipino community, and then
Is there an association?
yeah, association.
What
yeah.
is the name of the association?
Philippine Community Association Society.
I see. Did you know that during those years there was a law that said Filipino men cannot marry white girls? Did you know that there was a law in those days?
No, I never heard that.
I only found out about that recently myself. I was not aware of that. And I was wondering maybe there were problems because of that.
No, only that riot, about this dancing, that the American people didn't like the Filipinos because employing American girls, and then they don't let Americans to go inside too. That's why I started trouble, I said. So.
Let's see. Okay. I want to talk a little bit about your work. And when did you ever have a problem getting as many workers as you needed for a grower?
No. Once in a while I couldn't supply the amount they want, and I kind of being a foreman or a contractor. I was not a contractor then yet.
Yes.
They contact me some farmers, this company or private farmers, and sometimes I promise them to give them somebody. And then another company calls after that, and if I have some boys not working right then, I give it to them. And it means if they want 10 and I didn't have that much, so I had to look around for some.
Did you ever feel competition with other contractors?
Oh yeah,
Yeah?
like that. They go to the farmer trying to take you away from them sometimes,
Oh, really? Were they Filipino contractors or other contractors?
Some Filipinos and some Mexicans,
Mexicans. So there was quite a bit of competition.
Yeah, there's a competition here. Sometimes I heard too. Sometimes that if the farmers or company promise them a compensation or like bonus, if the company promised me so much, the other boys say they can give them less in order to get the job for them. But some good companies they they don't like that, you know. But private farmers, small farmers, they do agree to that too sometimes. So in that way, you lose your the one that you are working for, employer.
Did that happen to you a lot?
No, not a lot.
No.
Just
But
once in a while.
once in a
But the small roles, I don't mind, you know, because there are a lot of work, so I didn't mind then.
Was there ever a shortage of workers?
No, there were a lot of people then. And then,
So you never had to worry about getting
No.
enough workers?
no,
Okay.
not like later on when, during the war or after the war, you know.
Yeah.
Because then we had few people. Just
I'll put that back on. Okay. All right.
and this mostly of my boys, especially the first years I moved in here, or when I was in town in the camp, all Filipinos, no other nationalities. Because I got lots of friends, and then lots of boys knows me, you know, and they like me, so they just come. I don't go down and hustle them like some other people. So during the war, they were inducted to the war. They didn't go volunteer, but they never taken. So most of them are eligible to the service, so they took them all away from me. Only the old people and those one that they deferred. The company I was going to too, but they deferred me.
Oh, they did?
Yeah. So I was deferred because I was working for the good of the government, you know, for the good of the army. I was raising, working on vegetables and things like that for them.
I see.
So I was deferred. So, and then I was getting short of work then. That's why they started to make contact with Mexico. But before then, because they make contractors, you know, I had a lot of Mexicans that crossed the border illegal, you know. And I used to put them to work because we need some people to work. But once in a while, those immigration officers are hot after them. They come and pick them up and things like that. But I take them down across the border, and then the next day they come down again. So we were just surprised when they come back. So it's on and on like that. And then beside those, there are lots of local that like to work too, home. But then these local people, they're not so confident because they work for a week, just enough to make money to, you know, for bosses, I think, because they get drunk and don't work. Sometimes in that way I lose a lot of, I lost few money too because they skip away at night and never pay board.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. That's the trouble with contractors sometimes, you know. You cannot help it because they just escape while you are away or asleep. You know?
I see. When you didn't have enough workers during the war, when a lot of Filipino boys went into the army, did you hire women instead?
No, I never hired women there. I never hired women to work because then they didn't care very much about women then.
You mean the growers didn't want women to work for them?
So most of them didn't like women.
Why?
I don't know. Maybe they don't work as hard as men, maybe. But now, families and kids, they hire them now because we are short of workers yet. And they came to find out that women are even better than most of these nationals, especially these nationals. They just fool around too much with their work. But these women, they're not so very fast, of course, but then they do a good job and go steady, like not fooling around. Except those little kids, like these school kids, not that I'm students in high schools, you know. Sometimes they just, I have to. That's what I'm doing now for this company that is calling me to work. And some of them are, they work if they tell them to work. But then if you, well, they just keep on talking to me like kids, you know,
I
they
see.
play around too much.
Did they use children in the 1930s also?
No, that
they-
I know of, no.
And
Yes.
in the 1940s, did they use children?
No, not that. No, I don't know anything about that. Never hired any. So
Okay. I don't. I think I may have asked you this already. I don't remember. But were there ever too many workers around? Like a surplus of workers?
no. Oh, let me
I
see.
mean,
No, there were plenty of works, but then a lot of people, even though they're workers, you know, but they don't want to work sometimes, you know, they just fool around and play around. If they have work a little bit, like what I said, some people then that we call locals, they work for a while and they have a little money, they stop and just fool around.
I was wondering because if you have too many workers and everybody needs to make money to live,
Right.
then they compete with each other. And if one worker says, "I'll work for 50 cents an hour," and another worker comes in, he says, "No, I'll take the job. I'll work for 40 cents an hour." Did you ever have that problem?
Yeah, like getting piecework. Because sometimes of these farmers, they want to give it by the acre. You see, it's contract work. So if, like for example, me, one farmer offered me $15 an acre. See, so I take it, and another man or not, yeah, another contractor go look, contact him too, you know. And he said, well, I have somebody already. How much did you pay? Such and such, I think. And then I give him this much. All right, give me a little less, I said. And if the farmers is not good enough, or you know, some of them don't care to pay as much as I want, you know. If he wants my work, they would rather have me than the other one that they don't know. But sometimes they come across somebody that farmers that like cheaper job, pay a little bit cheaper, so he gives it away. You know. Yeah, a little competition. There is contract work, but our work I can't because they pay you by the hour like regular wages. You know.
Has the amount of labor that they need for each season, has the number of workers changed over the years?
Oh yeah, sometimes if it is not a very big field that they have it ready, you know, they used to have. Sometimes they put about 20 acres. Huh? They need so many boys, about 20 boys to work on that job. And then the next season they put up a little less. They planted a little less, so the amount of workers is cut down too.
Do you think that?
If you need,
I'm sorry.
if you have something else for them to do, but if not, the farmers don't care if you put that much because the more the quicker. Anyway. See.
Has the acreage changed over the years? Do you think that people are planting more or they're planting less?
Every year.
Yeah. Well, since you've been doing this since the late 1920s, have you seen any changes in how much is planted around here?
Oh yeah. The regular acreage they plant at first. Suppose they have about 10 acres, and if the business is good, they try to look at some places to farm again. So if they can get it, then like a big company, if he has about 100 acres at first, and he sees that the business is pretty good, he look around and rent some more or buy some more land. So every year, a little bit going up and going up more and more.
So do you think that there is more farming here now than there used to be?
Yeah, a little bit more. But no, because some of them are playing trees too, you know, and then they even put buildings in it now and things like that.
So have they needed more workers or less workers?
No, not more workers.
No more?
No more.
They
They
need
don't-
less workers these
Yeah.
days. Is that also because of machines? Do you
Yeah,
think?
that's a machine too, you know. They're cutting the workers too because the machine can do a lot, you know, and they only need few to take care of it, to follow it and something like that.
What happens to the workers? Where do they go?
As a result, they migrate to some place, you know, move some places to places or work in canneries and something like that.
Can you think of any machines or ways of harvesting that has eliminated workers?
Uh, like this planting berries now. They used to plant by hand and hire more boys, and now they only need about maybe the machine is about 3 or 4 men or women to sit down on the machine to plant, and then about 3 or 4 boys behind to drop the plants, and they no ahead I said they and then they stick the plant, you know, like this planting celeries. They used to plant it by hand, and they need more. They use more boys. And now they have a planter that 4 or 5 women sit down with containers of seedlings. They just plant it, but the machine goes right ahead, you know. Then if they miss, there is about 2 or 3 boys following to plant to where they miss.
I see.
Because they wanted to plant it in space, you know.
So has this, in terms of numbers, has this cut the workers in half?
Almost as half,
Almost
you know.
in half
Yeah.
of what they needed before.
But these companies have other work for them anyway, if, like that. But this is more farmers, like private farmers,
Yes.
you know. They used to, if they have planted lettuce for thinning, or for thinning that they didn't perfect the thinning machine yet, but they tried it already,
A thinning machine.
thinning machine. But now they managed to plant the seeds far apart now, so that they need only less workers to thin because it is easy then.
I see. Because they come through in a machine now for
No,
thinning?
no, not yet. No machine thinning yet. But this one, they planted the seeds far apart.
I see.
It is not in bushes now, so it is easy to thin. So they put fewer workers to it because it's fast work.
I see.
Not like before that they planted bushes, so it got too slow work. So they put more to keep up.
So do they give other work to these workers, or do these workers just have to leave because there's no work for them?
Oh yeah, they give, these big companies give some other works for them to do because they don't like to lose them, you know. So, but then some people don't care if they live for 1 or 2 days. See, but some people that have families, maybe if they are late for 2 or 3 days, they are worried, so they look for another place. They go outside and work, but then they come back, you know.
Well, what other kind of work do they get with the company?
Like thinning, hoeing, see, or weeding and thinning.
I see. Can you tell me exactly what kind of work your workers did, the boys that you had?
Well, the boys that I have, we thin lettuce, whole lettuce. We pick beans, string beans, and they pull carrots, something like that. They cut broccoli, and what else now? Pick apples sometimes.
And did they do this in the 1930s and in the 40s? And in the 50s, or have the jobs changed? The kinds of things that they do, have they changed?
No. But then, if those farmers, like in fruit, vegetable, I know, these trees, fruits,
Uh-huh.
they have, they give it for piecework all the time. And those people that are used to, those boys that are, or women that are used to pick and make, think they can make money more, than working out in the field like cleaning and hoeing by the hour. So they go and pick apples.
I see. Did your workers go and pick apples?
Oh, some of them.
Where I understand that Filipino workers are specialists in asparagus.
Oh yeah. And they stuck them for a lot of them. But then some of them came over here too, like I had a lot of my boys from Stockton. They had been working in asparagus before.
Uh-huh.
So I think they like to change work, environments or something like that. Yeah, they are good cutters of asparagus. Yes.
Do they mostly work here in lettuce?
Lettuce and
Do they do sugar beets?
oh yeah, they did sugar beet. Before they used to tap it themselves.
Uh-huh. This was
No machine yet.
what years were that?
During the 30s, I think, after the force, until they perfected the machine to tap again. They used to plow the field, and then the boys follow them and just tap it, and put it in file or in the road, and then they go back and pick it up and throw it in the truck.
I see. Did you supervise your workers? Did you go out into the field and watch them work, or did you have a foreman to do that?
I had for the driver. Yeah, it seems like a foreman. But sometimes I go down and watch them too and show them what the farmers want to be done. And explain it to them. Yeah, I didn't have to stay with them.
Maybe I better put it on another.
Is it a loose one?
Maybe it is a little bit loose, but maybe I'll put it up higher.
To keep this wire.
I'll do it on this. Let's see if this works a little bit better. I lost mine too. Okay. So your foreman would drive the workers to the field?
Yes.
And did he live with the boys too?
Yeah, he lived in
and
camp.
Was he Filipino?
Yeah.
I see.
He's a Filipino driver all the time.
How did you pay him wages for
No.
the job? No.
No. He's getting the same wages as workers then.
I see.
See, only the advantage of him is the free board and room.
I see. And he didn't have to work in the same way.
No, yeah,
Right,
like that. Just a little bit helper.
Did you ever have members of your family work in the field? Any family people?
Oh, yes, my son too. I put him to work too.
Your son?
Yeah.
He works in the field, or does he
Yeah,
work as a foreman?
No, he worked in high school when the school closes before. They used to hire these students because, like this company now that I'm working extra, they get men working in the shed, foreman or manager and things like that. They had children too, and I like them kids to work. See?
Do they get paid the same as the
Oh, yeah.
regular workers?
Oh yeah, but they don't work. They don't work as long as regular work.
Has your wife helped you in your business?
Oh yeah, they keep books.
She keeps the books? Does she ever do things like prepare the meals for the boys?
No, we have a
No.
cook.
You have a cook. Does anybody else in the family help out in the business?
No.
Did you keep the books yourself before you got married?
Yeah, there wasn't very much to keep, you know. Just even our expenses, I don't even note them, you know. Because they never they never pay income taxes before.
I see.
Not like now.
I think I better turn this over.
Oh.